Hey everybody. So I know we're getting ready to all start repotting season, and I will be too. But for me, I'm still in the process of developing my collection from seed, still in that mode of, oh, I don't mind to wait 5, 10, 20 plus years for a tree. And so I thought I'd show you the way that I have been starting seeds for a little while now. I had good success with some of the species that, sometimes are a little trickier to get to germinate. So starting maybe at the top and working my way down, I'll give you a view of what my setup is, and then I'll also talk a little bit about handling the seeds and the ways that I've done it so far. So I'll direct your attention up here. So I have these lights that I ordered. I'll put a link to the brand down below, but they're actually on these carabiner things with a ratchet that'll allow it to lower down and raise up, and it also has a variable intensity, maybe right here. So it has variable intensity. So I use a little light meter to see what's what, but since it's relatively low light now, I'm not going full blast on the light. So the plug for this, if you follow down, goes into one of those old, if you've ever set up Christmas lights or anything else to go on and off, this is just one of those simple programmable on-off light things. I try to adjust this maybe every couple of weeks as the daylight length changes and whatnot. But this will control, it has two plugs, it'll control all my lights, and that's how I control that. You notice another plug here coming out, and that's leading to a thermostat. So this little thermostat has a probe here, and so you can see if I put it in my hand, it should go up in temperature rapidly. Hopefully I'm not a vampire. So we'll drop that probe into the soil mix somewhere, that feels right, and allow it to keep our soil mix warm. But the question is, well, the thermostat doesn't do anything to keep the soil mix warm. Well, this is plugged in here is a heat mat. So if you come in here, I'll just show you. This is just a really simple one, not very expensive. They do sell ones that are pre-programmed to a certain heat, and they sell ones that have a thermostat built in. But I decided I would buy one of these, be able to run maybe multiple mats off the same one. But that's my main setup there. And then for the my trays, this is an old tray, but I just thought I'd get it to show you. I have these individual 6-inch cell trays, which fit into the 20-inch rigid tray, and I get the ones that have the holes in the bottom so they can leak out. So I am on a little back porch here, so I'm able to water out here, and I kind of set up a little guttering system to be able to catch the water, and it's very, very primitive, nothing too crazy. But so that's really the long and short of how I do seed starting. A couple of notes. One is if you have soil mix, and this is just like a Pro Mix brand of soil mix for starting. If you have that and it's sat for any amount of time, or even if it hasn't, you want to make sure you take that out and you get it moist. Put it into a tub, spray it down with the hose, get it nice and moist to about the consistency of a wrung out sponge. Where you wring it out, the water stops dripping. That's about the level of moisture you want in there. If you put it in there dry and you put a seed in there, you will never be able to get water into it. The mix becomes what's called hydrophobic, and it's like a dried sponge. If you ever have a dried sponge and you try to wet it without kind of squeezing it or whatever, the water just beads and runs right off the top. So that's just standard kind of seed starting 101. Get the mix wet. The other thing is pay attention to how deep you're supposed to plant a given seed. The bigger the seed, the deeper it can go usually, but some things require surface sowing, some things require light, some things require dark. So just pay attention to the seed pack. The people who wrote it on there know what they're talking about, and they put it there for a reason. So if you're starting vegetables or annuals or stuff like that, that's pretty much all you need to know about it. You want to calculate based on how far out from the planting date you are and all that kind of fun stuff. But since I'm interested in bonsai and also in some of the native, propagating some of the native plants from seed, a lot of those require some additional treatment ahead of time. So I started, I think, back in August, just depending on the different schedules and recommendations of the different types of seed, doing this process called scarification and stratification, depending on what the plants needed. So if for the first step, most of them require. So I just grabbed one that was an example. This is New Jersey tea, Ceanothus americanus, and it says here, soak in hot tap water. Let stand in that water for 24 hours. Cold stratify for 60 days. So I'm shooting to start my seed in February. So I'm on 12/1. I did this process. Obviously, it's a little late in the game if you're thinking about starting these this year, but it's just something to be aware of. I have done it 2 different ways. So the way that I did this one is I soaked it in that water. That's all very much the same. And then I just put it in a wet paper towel. I haven't done this before. We'll see. This is definitely the simplified method. But the other way that I did it last year, which I don't know, maybe I was just in a creative or dorky mood, but so I pour the seeds out of the packet, and I put them into a glass like this, and I pour water into it. Let that sit on the counter, room temperature, however long, 24 hours. I then take that, and I pour that water out through one of these, which is just an unbleached natural tea bag. Let that kind of filter out. I would then roll that up, and then I would take a pinch of this sphagnum moss, which you've seen before. I would take a pinch of this sphagnum moss. I would get it wet, and I would wrap it around that tea bag, put everything back into the plastic bag like this. Squeeze the air out, seal it up, and then do whatever you need to do with it. I have found writing the date on the thing is helpful. I've also found that putting it in my calendar for the dates that things need to move is helpful. So if this required warm stratification, I would take and put that in a dark cabinet inside my house, which I have a spot underneath our bar. I put it in there, and I keep it there for the 60 days or however long. And then I take it out, and I put it just in the butter spot in our refrigerators where I keep these. But that's the cold stratification. And then once you're ready to go, the cool thing about, I think the paper towel will be interesting. We'll see. I have a theory that maybe there might be some microbial advantage to the sphagnum, but I don't know if that's actually true or just me being a nerd. But with this stuff, I've seen people talk about putting the seeds in with a pinch of sphagnum, and then I imagine trying to sort that out. This is completely permeable, but it doesn't break down over that time. And so you pull it out, pull all the sphagnum off, rip this open, and you've got this little nice packet of stratified seeds. So things like, I've had really good success germinating a bunch of different pine species, hornbeam species, maples, but also things like milkweed, things like blazing star. So that's what, Asclepias, and all the different Asclepias, and blazing stars. Do you remember any? Word for blazing star? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay. It'll come to me as soon as we stop recording. But anyway, a bunch of different native species. All of those require some degree of cold stratification. It just says it on the packet, and that's how I do it. So thanks for checking out the channel again. Thanks for watching. And if you have questions or comments, or you do things differently, or you have a disagreement, please feel free to drop it below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.